skip over it. Put it at the end.
All right, it's 5:31. I'll call this meeting of the General Government and Finance Committee to order. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance with section 19.83 and 19.84 Wisconsin statutes in such form that will apprise the general public and news media of subject matter that is intended for consideration and action. We're pretty loud.
Stay back.
We'll just back those up. Roll call shows all members present except for Trustee Pieper, who is on her way.
I'm here
with that-
on via WebEx until I
Oh,
get
you
there.
are? Okay,
Well,
Thank
via
you.
WebEx until I get there. Yeah.
great. Good to hear. Thank you. So we'll move on to citizen input. Please be apprised, come up to the podium, which is being moved right now. And please state your name and fill out a yellow sheet with your information. And please keep your comments to approximately 3 minutes. Is there anyone wishing to come forward?
Sarah Larson, Butternut Road. Just a question I'm hoping that you'll answer when you get to the contract section. For Rinka, I believe the original contract was only like 57,000 and now it's saying the contract is 84,000. So I'm wondering what the change of contract amount was for that. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to come forward for public comment? Okay, if not, we will move on to consent agenda, which is the minutes of March 17th, 2025.
Move approval. I'll second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the minutes of March 17th. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Trustee
Aye.
Pieper. Great. Opposed? Motion carries. That will move on to unfinished business, Windows 11 upgrade project. Aaron Hearn, would you like to speak to this before we get into questions?
Sure, I would just like, ooh, that is loud, you're right. Sure, I would just like to make some corrections. I apologize. I don't know why it says 79,000, because when you actually do the math of the quotes, it's 91,000. So I do apologize for that. This does include an addition from what was put on previous. I got a quote from the chief for Baycom for 3 additional tough books that need to be replaced. They weren't part of his original request, but they were meant to be on this Windows 11 upgrade. So that added a little over $11,000. And so that, along with the request, I just didn't update it to the 91,000. But I do have a list of like what was suggested for the upgrade from Capital Data. If anybody has any questions on any of the stations, please let me know.
All right, Trustee Pieper, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. The quote from Capital Data for the new devices, I see that they're recommending 14 devices of one, 16 devices of another, 2 devices of some. And I'm having a hard time looking through the spreadsheet and matching up the device suggestion for some of the device users. Seems to be in the list of users, there were a couple devices that were listed as multi-use or training. And there were a couple of them. So do we need those many devices for training or There were also several devices that were listed on the sheet for replacement that did not seem to need as beefy of a computer as Capital Data is suggesting that they replace it with. The majority of the devices that are being replaced were very cheap machines with very low RAM and we're going to be replacing them with these pretty somewhat expensive models of Dell. And then I also had a question of why we're going with Dell when the majority of the devices that are being replaced were actually HP. If there was a reason for that, because Dell is expensive.
Yes, Aaron, go ahead.
Okay, so just to answer some of the questions, so going back from the last question, with Dell, we've been buying Dell only since we started with Capital Data. So that was kind of the transition. All of our devices before were HP, and with the transition, we were transitioning everything to Dell. So that's been going on for the past 3.5, 4 years. So, so you said you had questions on some of the multi-users. So those are all in the police department. I do see that Chief's here. If you want to ask about one specifically, or if you want him to go through all the multi-user computers, I'm sure he can. And
See that the list of devices was actually included in the agenda packet. I think I pulled the list of devices from maybe an old village board meeting, but
No,
there
it
were
was-
several devices listed that were like a random village board one, or the computer that's literally used to connect to the channel 25 and project, a scrolling image of updates or whatnot. So I didn't think that we would need a device as expensive that's being proposed to replace a device that's not being used for much at all.
So there was a list and, oh, I'm sorry. There was a list in this packet. And it has the user, the recommendation, the model that it's currently at, purchase date, reason for replacement, and then what it's being replaced with. And so like under I'm assuming you're talking about the Podium laptop that needs to be replaced. And the reason why we have all the laptops, basically the same device, is because we're trying to streamline. A lot of the older devices were purchased. I mean, we have devices here that were purchased in 2014, so they're not going to have as much RAM as a computer really requires nowadays. I'm not saying that, that's always the case, but that's generally the case. And these are recommendations from Capital Data. If we don't agree with their recommendations, but I try to get the same laptop for every user so that, we're all working, if something fails on their computer, then we know generally that's going to fail on another computer. And so I try not to get too many different types of computers. But we did get, so for all of those multi-users though, we did get a small fact form, an Optiplex small form, which is less so that it would,
Yeah, those are desktops, not laptops.
right, not laptops, right. And so we did that specifically because those are multi-user, they don't have to be taken anywhere, so we did take that into consideration when we were putting together these recommendations. There are a couple beefier computers, but I think there's only a couple in the police department. And that's just for the programs that they need to utilize on those computers. Otherwise, generally, I think, I mean, if you have a question on a certain user, there was a list in the packet, so.
Okay, I did actually have questions on a couple of the users, and I'm sorry that I'm driving. I got stuck at work. A meeting ran late, so I'm actually driving, and it probably wouldn't be safe for me to
No,
pull
no,
up
no.
the things that I had highlighted. But I understand that you want to move straight to Dell from HP and just have a uniform vendor or manufacturer across the board. But these are the only devices that are being replaced. And the majority of the devices that aren't being replaced are going to be HP, and those are still going to exist. So you're still going to have a hodgepodge of brand names.
So like I said before, the majority of computers that, or all of the computers that we've replaced since we've started with Capital Data are Dell. So the only ones that would be not Dell would be the ones that were maybe purchased right before they started.
So is there a reason, Capital Data give a reason as to why they're recommending to go straight with Dell and not a different name like Lenovo, HP, or Acer?
You know, like I said before, you know, it's just for solidarity so that we have one system that we're working with, so that if they have a problem on one computer, I mean, we've been doing this since we started with Capital Data to try to get everything uniform into the same structure. So everything's been,
And I understand that to go to one platform, but I'm wondering what the reason or what their thought process was to go straight with Dell and not a different name. I'm speaking from experience as an IT, you know, from an IT company, that the majority of the issues that we have with endpoints, specifically laptops and workstations, they're the majority of the time it's with Dell. So I was wondering why Capital Data's recommending to go with Dell across the board and not a different brand name. And Dell's support is really poor.
you know, I can't speak for Capital Data. You know, I believe part of it when we were first looking at it, you know, 4 years ago, that we were looking at going with a different brand name to, you know, show where we started in this transition of upgrading and making everything similar within our structure. But, you know, I'm sorry, I can't say why they chose Dell.
Yeah, I can only say that, I mean, I deal with Capital Data on a regular basis in my professional job as well. And I think they've just standardized on Dell. I don't have another reason for that as well. I can see that they used basically two standards, and then one for laptops, one for desktops, and then two computers are a little bit beefier on the laptops. And if we want to, I'm sure we can go back and utilize a little bit of a not as powerful for some of the things like the Podium and multi-user laptops and things that are only used for like a reference type thing or internet browsing basically, or Word documents. We could have them look at a separate brand or a lesser model for that. And then as far as the police side, I think I only had a question on one, chief, and that was, we have 3 for dispatch right now, and they are going to be replaced and be used for clerical users. Are you going to have that many replacements for the in the clerical field, clerical area after dispatch leaves?
We're gonna probably need 2 for sure. 3 was just replacing what we had. They wanted a list of what we had right now, and that's what we have. The multi-user ones, like for report writing, those are getting used by all the officers for report writing, and those are kind of like at the end of their life. The one for, I think, training, that's a multi-user. When officers go to training, they got to take a laptop with them, because a lot of the classes, they require the laptop for the training purposes, for either downloading or doing their reports. Sorry.
Okay.
Booking room, that's another one. Everybody uses it, but it's for the booking process. And that's also linked to the sheriff's department.
But those are static computers, right? Those aren't laptops.
Correct. Those are just in the station. The only laptops we really have, the squad computers, the 3 Panasonics, and then here ones. Like for our property officers, our records clerk, I think they got a beefier computer for them just because of the downloading the capabilities. So it's faster for downloads when they're doing them, instead of having to sit there and it keeps moving and moving, because they're still doing other stuff on those computers. As far as speaking about Dell, Washington County, all their laptops for their squads are Dells. Ours are Panasonic. The reason they went with Dell was because of dependability. And that's why they went back to them. We basically transferred to Dell when we got all the grants. Half our department, basically the computers replaced through grants, probably about 1 or 2 years ago.
Sounds right.
Yeah, so we transitioned to Dell at that point because Capital Data recommended them and we haven't had any issues with them. So I guess I would look at the dependability of them too, how long they're gonna last. And that's all I can say as far as why we went with the Dell.
So, well, you just mentioned another thing that we do have a quote for the tough books in here too, 3 of them, I believe. Is that right? So you're still using the Panasonics in the squads?
Correct. And they're 2015 models per year, I should say. And that should basically bring our entire fleet up to current or within the last 3 years for tough books.
Yeah, trustee
Did I
Kaminsky.
hear correctly? So you have Panasonic in the vehicles, correct?
Correct.
Is that dependable? I mean, or are they the only ones that make the type of computer you need for the,
Panasonic was one of the first ones that came out with computers for the squad cars.
they're the best?
They were the best at the time. Dell came out with one now too. They're more expensive. The reason we went with Panasonic is probably because they're about $300 or $400 cheaper. And that's what we've been going with, or we've had since when we started putting them in the cars.
Okay.
So in order to change them over, then you'd have some with Dell, some with Panasonic. So we just decided
Not
to stay
worth
with
it.
No,
Right, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, trustee Pieper, before you speak, what I was saying when you were walking in is that, I agree. I think they standardized on just the latitude the quote says 5550, these say 5450, but it's darn close. But I was thinking that we could probably split that in half and do one lesser model for some of these common areas like podiums and for the court and things like that, and get a different quote for those.
Yeah, so I'm sorry you just sat down, but I do have a couple more questions for you. I know we had just approved at Public Safety, I believe, a bunch of tough books. Do you recall how many that was?
I believe it was 7.
7? And the tough books are specifically for in the squads, right?
Correct.
So these 3 tough books are for squads.
Correct.
Okay, so that's the only place where tough books are actually needed, right?
Well, I have one because I had it in my squad initially, but we have docking stations that, like I take mine home and I take it, I put it in the office, I'll plug it into a docking station. I can use it as my desktop then.
Yeah, so is there any other circumstances that we can use docking stations instead of replacement devices? Maybe instead of getting them an actual desktop, we could get them a laptop and it could be transferable like that.
Easy answer is no right now.
Okay,
Because the only ones that could get them would get people that are assigned to specific cars. The supervisors, they're assigned to cars, but then they would have to take it from their office and take it out to the street, get re-signed in. And then when they come back in, they have to re-sign back into the station.
okay. So the multi-users, the multi-user training laptop 2, multi-user training laptop, multi-user court computer, multi-user for all of the dispatch, 1, 2, 3, booking, report writing, evidence basement, front desk, 2 more for report writing. Are the report writings is that your department?
Yes, that we have 3 report writing computers where the officers come in and they basically do their other data entry, evidence processing through that. And then they also either type their reports or they can dictate them.
Okay. And then the front desk?
That one's at the front counter. When people come in to pay parking tickets, the clerks can log into that computer. Or when they come to check off like 15 days equipment violations, they'll sign those off right there.
Okay, so, and I'm guessing the same thing for evidence basement and booking. But the siren device, since it was voted to remove the tornado sirens. Do we need to even replace that one?
That I think is a multi-computer that's used for other things too. I think that's used for our security software.
So there's 3 multi-user slash training ones, but then there's a specific one for siren, and then there's another one for roll call.
The roll call run is used in the roll call room for like when you give roll calls, to put the log up on the screen. Which other one were you saying?
Well, there was the roll call siren device. And then there's 3 multi-users slash training. And
Yeah.
then I don't know if the core computer would be yours.
Yes, we have a court computer where the court officer, when they come to court, they have a computer with all the software on it for court, and can pull up the tracks tickets, read off the narratives for when they're in court, if the judge asks for it.
So it's a specific software that's loaded onto that computer.
Well, it's basically records management and tracks. So it's the same software that's on the computers at work, but those are desktop units where this is a laptop that they bring to court.
So then that leads back to my original thinking that if we had a docking station, then that laptop would be able to go to and from instead of a desktop that's stationary.
It could, unless there's somebody working there, they'll need that desktop.
But you're
It's a
saying
court-
that the 3 ones for the dispatchers, there's dispatch 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
That those would all be allocated to some sort of other clerical position?
The clerical positions that we're gonna be creating, there'll be 2, like basically 2 per shift. So they'll need 2 computers for sure. We talked about that. We might be able to eliminate one of them,
Okay,
but we'll need 2 for sure. One, I don't know if the clerk typist is on there, but the front counter will need one. And then for report writing, those are multi-use where everybody uses them.
but couldn't the officers use their tough books if they had a docking station for the report writing?
You get into the logging in issue because you come into the station, then you'll have to re-log in when you go back out to your car.
And does that take a long time?
Sometimes it does,
Log in.
especially when you're going to a hot call.
Well, they wouldn't be writing a report when they're going to a hot call then, right?
But I'm just saying, if you take the computer out of the car, bring it in the station, plug it in,
Sure.
and now you got to go to a call, grab that computer, dock it in your station and go to the call. That computer takes a little bit to boot up. So that's the issue.
Okay, but are there 3 people writing reports all at the same time usually?
Occasionally there are, when it comes to shift changes and all that.
And is the security software system cameras yours too?
Yes,
And that is just a specific computer solely for the cameras?
correct.
Okay. I just think that this needs to be gone through more detailed and that the devices for replacement actually need to be taken into account for what they're actually going to be used for and what they're being replaced with. And then I didn't even see a number for the actual upgrade to Windows 11 for the devices that don't need to be replaced. We started out with 150,000. Now we're down to 90,000. I think we can get this much, much, much lower. And then the line items for these replacement devices, it says that there's warranty support for 3 years, 3 years, 3 years, 4 years, 1 year, 5 year. And it does not really say how long the actual warranty on these are for specific device. I'm done with you, sorry. Yeah, promise I won't make you come back up.
That's actually in the quote. It's tech support 5 years, 7 by 24.
But then it says 5 years, but then the next one underneath it. So there's Dell limited warranty extended years. It doesn't say, have an amount next to it, and it doesn't say for how many years. And then the Dell Pro support, again, doesn't say. Dell limited hardware support, doesn't say how long. Pro support, yeah, 5 years, but then all of a sudden it says pro support next business day, 1 year. Which one is it? And
Yeah,
there's
that's just line items. They add up to the 5 years. So the onsite 1 year and the onsite 4-year extended, it adds up to the total of 5 years.
But one says 7/24 technical support and then next business day, and then it says pro support next business day on site 1 year. Pro support next business day on site 4 years. So I just think this needs to be,
Yeah, so they line item the build out of the computers.
yeah,
Right.
which is
Because
normal.
everything is zeros and that's normal, yep.
Well, yeah,
but-
that is normal.
What I believe you want to do is just send it back to capital data for review and resizing of the computers.
Correct.
So is that a motion?
I make a motion to send this, or to, would that be a table?
Until the next GGF meeting.
Okay, I make a motion to postpone this item to the next GGF meeting to allow capital data to go through the list of replacement devices and match them to actually what's being replaced.
Right, do we have a second? Okay, we have a second. Any discussion? Trustee Jan Miller.
I thought I saw something on one of these documents that said the quote was good till 4:30.
It is because of tariffs and they're not sure if things are going to change. So that's how I'm getting all my quotes right now as well.
So do we need to pass this and then just adjust it when they come back? Go ahead.
I don't know. Trustee Kaminsky.
That's what I was thinking too. The tariffs are going to affect these
Right.
costs. They will, absolutely will. I'm not saying we should just grab this and say it's okay, but I personally would be comfortable with saying, take a look at this for the ones that you cited where we don't need as much of a robust, we cited a few areas. Tell them that, come back and just let us know. But I would not delay this purchase any longer. I would get it done. We've been talking about this now for 2 months.
Well, we could.
Unfortunately, though, that's not going to happen because this has to have village board approval and we won't meet until after that time.
No.
But the way I would amend the motion would be to say you can go ahead and make the purchase,
But it hasn't been approved at village board yet.
but it's not on the agenda for tonight then. Oh, well, we're host.
Well, can I speak real quick on the tariffs?
Sure.
Okay, the tariffs won't actually affect this purchase too much because where they would be ordering these devices from, they'd be ordering it from a distribution center that already has them in stock. They wouldn't be coming straight from China. So I know I have ordered in the past week, throughout 1 week, I've ordered over 150 devices and the tariffs did not affect any of the pricing or availability for any of those. Yet it will be coming, it will be rolling, yes, but as of right now, tariffs wouldn't be a concern for me. I'd also like to see why the breakdown between how much it would cost from Capital Data to update the existing devices that don't need to be replaced. Because I don't believe I saw that number. I saw the setup of the new machines and the cost of the new machines, but I did not see any price for how much they're gonna charge to actually do the updates.
You're right. I don't
Because
think it was
that's gonna-
included in this packet, right?
Because that's just going to be rolled out in our maintenance cost. So they're going to do it on the days that they're here for maintenance. They're going to put a policy that affects all the ones that need to be upgraded and then just roll that out.
But do we know
So-
how many hours that's gonna take? Because isn't that gonna push that budget over then? Because that's outside of a normal managed service provider.
No, because they're going to do it on the day that they're here for managed service. They're here every Tuesday for managed service
Could you
issues.
confirm
And
that
so,
with them, just to make
Yep.
sure that it's not gonna make our monthly bill skyrocket?
sure.
Go ahead.
Okay, we have a motion to postpone to the next meeting Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Passes 3-1. With that, we'll move on to new business. Item A, collective bargaining agreement between Germantown Professional Police Association Local 306 and the Village of Germantown. And for more information, I will turn to Administrator Krecklo.
All right, thank you. And Chief Merton will be up here with me as well to help answer any questions that you might have. We recently completed the collective, we came to a tentative agreement with the police union for a contract for the years, 3-year period, 2025, 2026, and 2027. I guess just some background to begin with. We started negotiations, was it summer of 2024? Or fall of 2024, we started negotiations, went through a very long process. We were aided by Ryan Hayden from Von Briesen. He provided legal expertise and helped with negotiating strategy. The tentative agreement would cover, as I mentioned, the 3 years and would provide for 4% pay increases for each one of those years. That would result in a increased salary cost of $138,000 in 2025, an additional $143,000 in 2026, and an additional $150,000 in 2027. I think it's also important to point out that with those increases, that would potentially create compression issues within the police department. You may recall that it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, the village board made a significant investment to try to address those compression issues and make sure that there was adequate difference in the salaries for a patrol officer and a sergeant and a lieutenant and a captain and chief. So if the board does approve these pay increases, there would be some additional expenses to try to maintain those differences. And so the total cost to the village would be $215,000 in 25, $223,000 in 26, and $233,000 in 27. And again, keeping in mind, those are one on top of each other. It's not, so you're looking at a total of about $700,000 increase in salary over the 3-year period. During this 3-year contract, I think we can fund this within budgeted funds in 2025 and likely in 26 and 27 because of the savings from positions that were approved in the referendum but have not been filled yet. So I think if there has been some discussion at the board of what to do with those funds, and what I would recommend is utilizing those funds to pay for the increased salary costs for the police officers and the other positions in the union. I guess in short, and I should mention there were some other non-salary related items that were in the contract. I think it'd be fair to say nothing that has a significant operational impact or cost to the village. So I think the primary area of concern are the salary increases. And with that, the chief and I are both recommending approval of the tentative agreement. It does lead to some financial and budgetary challenges for the village in the future. But given what collective bargaining law is in the state right now, I think this is likely the best deal that we're able to come to.
Trustee Kaminsky.
Steve, I think, maybe I'm remembering this wrong, but I think in the past when we talked about the bargaining, if this did go to arbitration or whatever it is, they don't care. The arbiter does not care whether we can afford it or not. They care whether it's fair or not, correct?
Right. Under state statute, they are not allowed to consider whether or not a municipality can afford the contract. They look, in the way arbitration works is the union and the municipality submit their last and best offer. The arbitrator picks the one that they feel is closest to what the market is.
Okay, speaking of that, our raise this past year for our employees was 3%, wasn't it?
3% for 2025, yes.
Okay. I mean, to me, the 3% seems totally fair, and we're just going to have to figure out how to deal with it in the future.
Trustee Jan Miller.
Thanks for bringing this forward. So there was also Ryan Hayden from Von Briesen Law Firm. What was his opinion about this proposed agreement?
He recommended that we accept the tentative agreement.
And with these raises, are we on par with other police stations, or do you have a sense of that? Because what happened in the last couple of times we talked about salary increases, we're trying to get competitive.
Yeah, I mean, that was a major component of the negotiations. As we went through the process, the last time the village went to arbitration was in the 1990s. And at that point, the arbitrator picked 5 other municipalities, and they did the comparison. It was Cedarburg, Brown Deer, Germantown, Mequon, Grafton, and Muskego were the others. And there's some of this gets into discussion back and forth on how you look at benefit costs, how you look at pay for, paid time off, all of those things. But generally, we're about in the middle of that group. So there are some that do pay more, but we're competitive with the market.
And that's recent information?
Yeah, that was all looking at not only 2024 contracts, but for those departments that had settled what they settled for future years.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I apologize. I should have asked for a motion before with discussion. So can I have a motion on this?
I move that we accept this agreement, our collective bargaining agreement between Germantown Professional Police Association Local 306 and the Village of Germantown.
Oh, and I
Trustee Kaminsky seconds. Yes, Administrator Krecklow.
just 2 quick things I should have mentioned in my overview. When I did put this on the village board agenda tonight as well. The union membership voted on it this afternoon and did vote to accept the tentative agreement as well.
All right, thanks. Any other discussion? I'll just mention, I mean, 4, 4, and 4 for the next 3 years. I don't think we're going to get any better than that. And I think that if we go to arbitration, we could be paying more. Not that that's a bad thing, but I also reviewed it with the consulting company that our HR consulting company that my company uses. And last year, now this isn't just police, but overall in this area, it was a 5.2% increase in wages. This year is a 3.6% increase in wages. So we're a little bit behind the curve when we're coming up to this. So this seems fair to me. Any other discussion? And this goes on to village board at some point, is that correct?
It's on tonight, actually.
Tonight, okay. Great. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Have to do a roll call because of the money?
Village board
Board
will,
is,
we
okay.
do not, yeah. Okay, 1 second here because we have another one for the chief. Actually, we have item B first, Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation Idle Sites Redevelopment Grant Application.
And that one's mine. I guess you can tell who puts the order of the agenda together. But anyways, just a quick overview on this. This is a resolution, and we're asking for authority to apply for a grant. It does not require acceptance. But this would be a $250,000, up to a $250,000 grant from Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation to assist with some of the demolition and cleanup costs related to the Pilgrim and Mequon sites. So there are no, there aren't any, just I know some of the questions have come up in the public. Well, does this mean that we would have to put in, any certain types of housing or anything that is not a part of these grants? It does, local control remains for what type of development would take place there. But what this would pay for, if you recall, the board approved a contract to demolish the buildings. We haven't done that yet because we're waiting to get some funding in place to do that. This is a funding source for that would not require TID funds, not require property tax levy funds, but would use grant funds to remove those buildings and get the site cleaned up.
I'll make a motion to accept the resolution as stated.
Second.
I have a motion, discussion. Trustee Jan Miller.
Could you identify the tax code number? It's 262340 on Pilgrim Road. Is that the Flower Source
The
lots?
The parcels that
It's
we're
only one.
covering under the grant application are the Flower Source. Well, actually, all of this would be on the Flower Source. We're not yet doing anything under Ascension, on the Ascension property, and the vacant property wouldn't require any cleanup. So yes, it's all related to the Flower Source.
Okay, and then my second question is, it does say to implement redevelopment plans for commercial and idle sites that have been idle, abandoned, or underutilized for a period of the last 2 years. Do you have to be the owner for the last 2 years?
No.
Okay. Those are my questions.
All right. Any other questions, discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we can move on to item C, which is the command structure update regarding the police department. I believe this was sent to us from the Public Safety Committee. Is that right?
I think it's from the village board, wasn't it? Or no, was it?
It's public safety on April 2nd.
Safety.
They wanted to see where I could find the funding from. I worked with Matthew on this. And in front of you have the background on it. With the amount of officers that I shouldn't say the amount, but the ones that we haven't filled this year, along with the differences in captain that we haven't had since I was the interim and now the chief. Along with the 4 non-referendum or the referendum bodies that we don't have. Right now, we are currently 9 bodies short. So with the savings that we have for that, we could fund the position this year. Moving forward, I did some checking, and with the consolidation of dispatch, we could come up with the difference from the patrol wage to the captains.
All right, committee. Questions? Trustee Jan Miller?
When you say the consolidation of the dispatch, they're training here, then they're going to, when they're ready, they're going to be moved to Washington County. And then we'll have some clerical people here.
Correct.
Did you take into consideration the clerical people that we'll need?
It's not including wages.
Okay.
It's the maintenance that we won't have to pay anymore.
Okay,
For the Baycom, I think I had those attached. Let me check here. For Baycom, GenCom,
okay,
we also paid a fee for each radio we had from the county,
okay,
along with the AT&T 911.
sure.
So that's the money. It's not the wages we're not going to basically be saving from because they're going to be turned into clerical positions.
Right,
It's just the equipment that we wanted to pay the maintenance on anymore. It's a 68,000.
okay. Thank you.
Questions? So this would be adding a captain's position, is that correct?
That's correct.
So 2 captains, I forgot what the breakdown was again here, I got it.
2 captains, 3 lieutenants, 6 sergeants, patrol, 3 detectives, 2 SROs, a drug investigator, CPO officer, and then our 6 clerical support.
Right, so one of the captains would oversee the operations, the other one would be administrative.
Correct, with all the extra clerical positions, and that, overseeing those positions as far as the property, clerical, records management.
Okay, and then the funding, you're recommending under option 1, 2, and 3, you're recommending for this year, option 3, and then work it out in the 2026 budget, is that correct? Or didn't you give a recommendation on this?
I was actually gonna recommend option 1,
Option 1?
because we'll keep with the same command structure then with the 3 lieutenants and the 2 captains. Option 2 would have been creating that lieutenant that was in charge of the bureau and those, the drug unit, make that a sergeant's position. But as far as you can see, the cost savings is what, under $100 between making that position, and then that sergeant would also get overtime on top of that. So keeping as a lieutenant's position overseeing the bureau, I think would be
I
the
see.
best bet.
Okay,
They don't make overtime?
What?
So can you reiterate that? I'm sorry, the lieutenants, they're more salary, they don't get overtime?
Correct. Lieutenants are salaried, the sergeants are hourly, and they get overtime. And just to clarify, it would only be half the wage for this year, because that position probably wouldn't take effect till mid to late June.
looks like it's a good funding source.
We did a great job on this breakdown.
Yeah, thank you. So with that, I guess we need a motion to,
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
which option? Option 1?
Option
Yes. Okay.
Option 1.
One.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chief.
I did. Thank you.
One second. I lost my agenda. Close too many tabs. Item D, contract with Go Right Way Transportation Group for Adventure Kids Club and Tyke Site Plus Field Trip Transportation.
Make a motion to approve new business item D as presented.
I'll second for discussion.
All right. And we have a motion. Go ahead, Gil.
Thank you. Yes, we're asking to go with Go Right Transportation Group for all of our summer transportation with our Kids Club program. We sent out for 3 quotes, and Go Right Way by far was the cheapest at $24,000. We also asked for Johnson School Bus Service, and they were $31,848. And the last company, Dairyland Hamilton, did not put in a bid at all for this. So as you can see in your packet, that Right Way would provide transportation for all of our field trips. This includes 8 field trips for our Adventure Kids Club program, 9 field trips for each Summer Kids Club site, and 5 field trips for Tyke site. We do charge parents $13 fee to offset the busing. So our charge more than pays for the bus fare itself.
All right, we have a motion already. Is there any other discussion on this? They were the low bidder. No other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item E, resolution establishing a 2025 fee schedule for weights and measures devices required under section 12.26 of the municipal code.
Second.
All right, we have a motion. This is our standard, but this happens annually, isn't that correct? That we just approve the weights and measures fees. Yes, trustee Jan Miller.
Does the fee change from year to year?
That was a good question.
It is the same from last year. It does not go from, it's a self-renewing. The only reason they would advise us if there was going to be a change, but we did not get that new advisement or new adjustment. So it is not year to year. I think previously it had been like 5 years before the new fee had
Okay.
been changed.
That's great. Thank you.
And it looks like this goes from July 1st to June 30th, 2026. So it's not a calendar year.
No.
So any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. With that, we'll move on to reports. Reports A, accounts payable. Anything in accounts payable you want to discuss? Okay, item B, budget. Hold on here.
Question.
You sure can.
All right. Backing up, accounts payable on the check run on page 49 of the whole packet, Matt.
Mhm.
I think it's Germantown High School and it says mob home. It's $6,400. Is that, it says non-D
Let me take a look. You said what page was it on for the packet?
or 9?
Would that be the school resource officers?
I don't know. I was, but it said mob home. You'd think it would be police. And I thought mobile homes.
Oh, it was to the school district? Yes, that's the mobile home tax. So we collect the mobile home tax on behalf of the taxing jurisdictions, and then we cut a check to the school
Okay.
district for their portion.
Okay, so now I'm getting your lingo. All right. What about on page 101 of the packet, down to safe built?
Mhm.
It's $44,000 and it says lockbox.
How it was paid?
101, you said?
Yeah, yes. That's what I wrote
I
down.
can't look up the packet the same way.
Oh,
What
oh,
page of the, can you give me a date on that check run?
well, of course I didn't write that down. Okay, hold on, let me get there.
425 is that page.
No.
Safe Built is the inspection service.
Yeah, I know who they are. It has a date of,
Check run is 25,403.
4/30. 44,089.60. It says IN contract. Is it in their contract?
Sorry, I'm just pulling it up here.
Sure.
What was the check run date?
4/30.
403.
403.
4:30?
403. Okay.
403, isn't it?
No,
430?
4/30.
Page 101?
Yeah, the 4:30, it's April 21st right now.
Well,
How could it be
it's due,
4:30?
that's the due date, sorry.
Okay, I see.
This
And what was the dollar amount? I'm sorry.
4/3, you're right. Check run. It's up in the upper left-hand corner. Too many dates.
Okay, got it pulled up here. Yep, so I think what's happening there is that's the Safe Built for the vendor, that's their lockbox. So their vendor name is Safe Built LLC Lockbox.
Oh,
That's just where they receive the checks.
so this is all the checks for all the permits or whatever.
Yep, so they
That's
invoice us
Going
monthly.
into their,
Correct.
okay. And then, there was, a library entry. Oh, wait, let's go to Copeland. There was something on page, I'll tell you when the check run is. It's 111. I'm just double checking if I'm reading these correctly. Appreciate your patience. 1 11 would be here, no, so. Gotta go fast. Two. There we go. The check run date is 4/9. It says Copeland for 5,400. And it says, oh, it's got Pilgrim and Mequon Road and pin and zone.
Yep, so that is the GL, so it's planning and zoning, and then the object is Pilgrim Mequon Road object code.
So would this be the contract, part of the contract?
Yes, it would have been against the contract for that. But as you can see there, that account number, the PLN and zone, Pilgrim Mequon Road, that's the description for that account number.
Okay. All right, very good.
All right, can we move on? Budget
Yes.
to actual year-to-date budget.
I have nothing too much to add for the budget to actual. If you take a look at the expenses, we're trending on track for expenses. You know, we're about a quarter of the way through the year. And we're just, I think, slightly above a quarter of all expenses. On the revenue side, we're certainly much higher than a quarter of the way through because we collect the majority of our taxes in the beginning of the year. As it relates to expenses, we're tracking pretty well. On the revenue side, once we get into the summer, that's where we'll see more recreation revenues and things of those or things of that nature. So we'll expect those to pick up pretty heavily in the next couple of months here.
And the second tax payments are due, but those go to the county, right? So is that reconciled later?
Yep. So the second tax payment is due July 31st to the county, and then by the second week of August, they'll wire us, you know, our portion of the remaining tax dollars.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to payroll. Anything in payroll? Usually not. That IT quarterly report. And there.
What is it? Or is
The
that it?
IT quarterly report.
It's just one page.
Yep.
All right. Sorry, there's 318 pages in the packet.
Oh, I'm on Civic Plus, so it's a little easier.
Okay. Oh, app as well?
Mhm. It's 312.
I see it.
Well, from there, we can come back. Oh,
What boost, they've got, they're working on a door security for booster station. What booster station we're talking about?
I would have to get you more information about that.
Okay.
That's with Paul.
Something with.
They
oh,
sent,
oh,
yep, they
right.
sent him over a quote, though I don't think, okay.
That would be the new booster station on Goldendale Road.
Oh, okay.
okay, we got a few other reports tonight. The website quarterly review. Looks like Park and Rec is very, it's a very interesting part of the website.
Yep.
Any questions on the website overview? This is nice data and shows the distribution of what people are looking for and
Right.
where they're going.
I thought this was important and for people to understand that Aaron Hearn is heading up this committee And we are meeting quarterly. And so as you're going on the website or using the website on your app, on your cell phone, please give us any feedback. We'll be happy. We're trying to fine tune it. We put in all of our updates that we wanted, and we just had a meeting last week and we're still fine tuning. So that's why we are having a quarterly update. Because we have quarterly meetings. So thanks for putting this together, and this is really good information.
All right, contracts. There was a question during public comment about the contract with Rinka, if you want to expand on that.
Yep. So when the village board approved the contract with Rinka, they approved it up to $84,065. When the contract was originally entered into Munis, only phase 1, 2, and 3 for the 57,000 was entered into Munis. So when we were reviewing invoices for that contract, I realized that it should have been higher. So I went back in and updated that contract amount to the 57,065.
Okay,
Trustee Jan Miller?
so how many phases are we supposed to have?
The contract, as I can see, calls out for 5 phases.
So now we have paid for all 5?
Year to date on the contract is $68,556. I don't have the invoices in front of me of what phase those are related to.
Okay, so if the total is 84, there still must be a phase. There must be something left, right?
Yeah, there's roughly just over $15,000 left, correct?
Okay.
Trustee Pieper, do you have a question?
Yeah, so there are, how many, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 5, I think, maybe, of contracts to Capital Data, and these are annual?
Let me take a look.
I think that's one that we're looking at bidding out this year, right? For 2026, or is it? Go ahead.
So all of those different contracts are on different things. So one is like on maintenance, one is on programs. So like they hold our Microsoft 365 licenses. So like when we pay for those licenses, we're paying it through Capital Data, but it's for the licenses. So that's why they're broken up, so that we can tell which portion is costing how much. So they
Which
should-
one is the licensing under? Email and Microsoft subscriptions.
yes.
Got it.
Mhm.
But altogether, it's $166,000. That's concerning. Yeah.
That's roughly what we budget each year. I don't disagree. That's a large dollar amount.
Well, we didn't used to budget this much each year.
We also used to not pay for our Microsoft subscriptions, just so you know. So that's why, like that portion on there, that was a completely new expense.
Anything else under contracts? If not, we'll move on to Matthew's director's report.
Yep. So in your packet, I included a director's update for essentially part of March and all of April here. In March, we hired a new utility billing clerk. Her name is Pravina. She's been with us probably just over a month and a half now. She started in the beginning of March. She has a background in billing and payroll, and is also a resident of the village of Germantown. So she came in, right when we were sending out those first quarter bills. So she hit the ground running, and she's been a positive addition to our team. We're really happy to have her. In my packet, I let everybody know that utility bills were due yesterday, April 20th. So if you haven't paid your utility bill yet, please get that in as soon as possible. Regarding the year-end close and audit, so the last week of March, first week of April, Baker Tilly was on site to do their on-site work for the audit. We've been working over the past several weeks to get all the information they had requested ahead of time, so we could have a productive week while they were here at the village. We did have a very productive week here at the village, and we're on pace to submit all the reports in a timely manner for the second straight year. A big shout out to Alex, our accountant, who does a lot of the heavy lifting on the accounting side here for the village. Jennifer, accounts payable, grabbing all of the invoices that Baker Tilly is requesting, as well as the engineering department getting us all the information for the many projects that they have been doing over the past several years. So I'd like to thank them for all the time they put in over the last couple of months providing us that information. Like I said in the update, we are expecting the ACFR to be issued by the end of June, and we're on pace to submit the PSE annual report, which will be due May 1st, and the state financial report, which is due May 15th.
Any questions for Matthew? Trustee Jan Miller.
So if I remember correctly, it seems like every year you say, well, we have this for surplus. When would you come to that conclusion?
Yeah, I believe at the last UGF, I reported what our expected surplus was.
Yes.
I can pull,
Do you
I don't
remember?
have it in front of me. I believe it's roughly 150 to 200,000, there's somewhere right in that range.
150.
I have to go back and look at my last memo.
Thanks.
Is there anything else? Otherwise, we will, our next meeting will be on, let me look here real quick. On Monday, May 19th, 5:30 PM. And with that, we will adjourn at 6:37. Thank you all for coming. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't mess with me today.